we never really offered resistance the entire way. So is what it is. We got to move on. We got a game against Pittsburgh, but we've got to learn some lessons from this one.
Well, you kind of hinted at it a little bit, Chris, but I mean, these are one of those games that you go in the locker room and say, fellas, we're just burning the tape and moving on, or you really break it down and go through it?
No, I don't think you can burn the tape, Bob. Obviously, we've got to have, two things we need to worry about, and that is, why things happen the way they did in this game. But at the same time, with a quick turnaround against Pittsburgh, we've got to be able to do two things at once, so to speak. At least figure out some glaring, and there were a lot of them, areas that we need to improve no matter who we play. And then we got to get ready for Pittsburgh on the road on Tuesday.
Awkward question to ask, but given that across the board it really was a bad day, what are the things that jumped out at you the biggest that you really want to attack?
Well, I would start on the defensive end. Their physicality. I think you're going to look at it and you're going to say, wow, they shot 16 for 25 from three. But their ability to just throw us around in the post and be able to, catch the ball deep hurt. Our lack of communication to start the game with, ball screens that were supposed to be switched. When you switch a ball screen, should be one defender on one offensive player and one defender on the other offensive player. And, our lack of communication, Bob, gave Trice 2 threes, and they ended up, shooting 4 or 5 of them, making 4 or 5 of them really in the first 4 or 5 minutes of the game. And, so if you were in this empty gym, you'd have heard Brad Davison's voice like no other. I mean, it's like a coach on the floor, and you'd have heard an eerily quiet team on our end of the floor, unless Gabe Wisnitzer was out there. And so, just the maturity level needs to grow. And again, there's a lot of things to address, but I think the communication and the physicality around the basket stick out to me. And then as time went on and the score increased, we let a lot of things slip.
Certainly nobody's suggesting that Carlik can make a 35-point difference, but how big a factor was him being out?
It's big. He changes our team. Dave, the ball handling responsibilities don't solely fall on him. But, you're right. It's not going to make up whatever the deficit was. But, it is what it is. I mean, those are the cards we're dealt, and we have to come out. Had we fought and done the things early in the game, to give ourselves a chance going into halftime, then maybe the game's different. But we were not, for the energy that we had in warm-ups and the spirit we had in warm-ups, it quickly evaporated with the lack of communication. And, some valuable lessons need to be learned from our younger players.
I think fans always want to know when it's a game starts like that. What'd you tell them at halftime? Did you say, let's win the second half, or what was the message?
Well, up to that point, we had not won a 4-minute segment, between TV timeouts. And, that obviously is going to put you in a tough spot, to say the least. But, we talked a lot about physicality, and then, to go out in the first 4 minutes and get posted up 5 or 6 times, the message obviously wasn't heard. We got some growing up to do in certain positions, Bob, for sure.
All right. Thanks, Chris.
Go to questions from the media, starting with Shannon and then to Pat.
Hey, Coach. So Carlik obviously couldn't play today because he hasn't finished going through the U of L medical protocols, but it's a little confusing that he was able to warm up. How close is he to being back and, being able to compete for you guys?
He'll be back. He'll be back when we play again. So there's a gradual progression, Shannon, that, every school makes up. The NCAA sort of gives guidelines but doesn't mandate it. And so, we made that protocol a long time ago. We're just following them.
Go to Pat.
Hey, Coach. Obviously, with Carlik out today, like you mentioned, David had to handle most of the ball handling responsibilities. What would you like to see David take away from this game, the way things went today?
He has to run his team. I think that on the offensive end, you're not going to be able to be effective against a team like Wisconsin, just dribbling, 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 and trying to score off of a ball screen. And that's what our offense resembled for the better part of the day. He's got to run his team. Things that we work on every day, from posting up different players to getting ball movement, all the things that, we need to execute in order to be efficient on offense. We've got to be able to execute them on game day. And, again, Dave's playing heavy minutes. He's a better player than he played today. He certainly has to take way better care of the basketball with his decision making. And again, we're playing one of the best teams in the country, and it'll be a learning lesson for not just David, but all of us.
Go to Michael and then Pat.
Coach Michael McCammon. Sam, obviously coming off of his toe injury, what did you think you saw from him today, and did you like what you saw from him today?
Sam has to be better. He just does. I don't think his toe has anything to do with his lack of voice on the floor, defensively and offensively. He's got to be able to help Dave as one of the more experienced players on our team out there to start the game. Settle us down, get us to run and execute our offense, and not just have one guy dribble the ball. Defensively, he's got a ways to go. He's got to go over ball screens instead of under them. He's got to be able to be vocal on switches. He's got to be able to front the post and do it without fouling. When he's getting backdoored and cut to the post, he's got to do it without holding. And again, grow up and be a veteran guy as a sophomore for us.
Pat?
Hey, Coach, I'm not sure if there's a great way to ask this question, but just, through 5 games, Aiden Nagahan's seen really limited minutes. What do you feel like he has to do as a player to go out there and give you some minutes? He's a really big body, but he obviously hasn't played a lot thus far. And what would you like to see from him, or what can he do to really get some minutes for this team?
He has to improve. He's got to be able on the defensive end to understand how to play post defense without fouling. He's got to help his guards when his man sets a ball screen, whether that's in transition or in the half court, communicate it. He's got to improve in those areas. If he doesn't, then we're going to get clipped off and he's going to foul, and guys are going to get all the way down the lane and stretch our defense. And then, offensively, he's got to be able to catch the ball and finish around the basket and rebound at a high level for us.
Take 2 more from Tyler and then Shannon.
Hey, Chris, how much do you think this long layoff kind of impacted you guys today in terms of either rust or some of the issues you mentioned?
I mean, it impacts us greatly. I had an appreciation for Seton Hall taking off 14 days and then playing us on a 2-day practice or 3-day practice turnaround. Coming into this game, I think we had a partial team for 3 or 4 days, 5 days of practice, but before that we had taken 8 or 9 days off, and it's just it's very difficult, and that's just sort of, again, the cards were dealt. We're not going to be the only team that comes off of a pause and has to turn around and compete. But again, with a young team and guys trying to catch their wind and then playing extended minutes because we don't have 12 scholarship guys right now, it just is what it is, and we're going to have to learn some valuable lessons despite all the barriers that our team's facing. And today we're going to learn a lot of lessons.
Close it out with Shannon.
Gabe Wisnitzer played 12 minutes, had 3 fouls, but he also did some nice things and bothered Wisconsin with his length. What was your assessment of how he played today?
Gabe was terrific. For a guy that really hasn't played in the first 4 games, Shannon, I thought his voice and his understanding what was happening on the floor defensively did not look like a freshman, where other freshmen who've played, they looked like freshmen. Gabe was doing a terrific job of calling out screens, whether they were off the ball, on the ball. He fought in the post. He's going against Micah Potter, who's 5th-year senior, got him on a high low, but then he learned, and the next time down they tried to run the play. Gabe was in great position and held his position. Offensively, he's got to be able to finish around the basket, and this was a great test for him. It's one of the best teams we're going to play all year. But I thought Gabe really stepped in and did a really good job in a day when not too many other teammates joined him.
Coach, thank you. We'll be back with the players shortly.